Good evening, runners, and welcome to the United Airlines NYC Half Course Strategy Chat. My name is Coach Steve, and I'm here with Coach Roberto, and we're going to go over the course mile by mile so you know how to prepare and plan for this race so you go into the race fully ready to tackle every mile of the course. Coach Roberto, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Steve. I'm really happy to be here. Just flew in from the Experience downtown, where myself and Coach Steve and our other colleagues, including Coach Ben, got to interact with many of the runners who will be running on Sunday. So really great to meet some of you. It was really cool because we're wearing face mask covering for obvious reasons, and runners were still coming up to us and thanking us for the course strategy from this morning, from the one that we did yesterday and Monday. So I could really start to feel the race atmosphere in the air, and I know that more people will be coming in tomorrow and Saturday. So yeah, pretty stoked.
Going to be a fun time. So guys, if you have any questions about the course, please put those questions in the chat below. We're going to take them one by one at the end of the show. But of course, you want to get to the course strategy to tell you how to approach this race properly so you can get the best time, whether that's a PR or whether that's your first half marathon coming up on Sunday. So Roberto, though, before they start the race, they need to get to the Experience. If you have not been there yet, make sure you show up. We have a new location. It is at Center 415. It's on 5th Avenue, about 37th Street and 5th Avenue. That is where you get your race bib. Do not go to the Run Center. I've heard stories of people going to the NYRR Run Center. That is not where you get your race bib, so make sure you go to this new location. You're going to get your race bib. You're going to get your New Balance shirt. You can buy some New Balance gear. You can meet myself, Roberto, and a lot of other coaches and pacers at the Pacer Running Lab area to get a pace band. Meet some of the pacers and figure out what pacers in your crowd. There's also a lot of other great partner activations there as well. But then getting to the start line, Roberto, is very important for the runners. So make sure you know if you're checking a bag and not checking a bag, because that is where you need to go to different sides of the park. And the bag you use is the bag you're going to get at the Experience. It's a clear plastic bag, so save that bag if you are going to check a bag, Roberto.
Yeah, I've already picked up my my bib, ready to go. Have you picked up yours?
I did pick it up today earlier,
All right.
and I got my clear bag. I'm ready to go. And just make sure you guys, like I said, if you're checking a bag, you should take the trains that are on the east side of Prospect Park. It's a Q and the S train. And then if you're not checking a bag, you can take the F or the G train on the west side of the street. Here is a quick start map. We can pull it up. This will kind of show you the trains that you should be taking to the start. So like I said, no bag check. It is the F and G train. Basically, get off when all of the other runners get off on your train. And then if you are checking a bag, you're going to take the Q and the S train to Prospect Park. If you are taking a private car, an Uber, taxi, getting dropped off, you can do that as well. And this map is also on the website, NYRR.org, and is also maps all over the Experience, and there's pocket guides at the Experience, so you can pick those up if you have not been there yet.
Yeah, exactly. This is what the Pocket Guide looks like. It's essentially an old school app, if you will. But for us new school folks, you could just download the app as well. It's available on the Android store, iOS store, and it's super helpful. But as Coach Steve said, all this information will be at the Experience as well. And also, if you have any questions, as he said, send it our way, and we'll be more than happy to address it. But as we start, we always say three things, whether it's a half marathon, 10K, and obviously the other marquee events, and is nothing new on race day, avoid the race before the race, and don't go out too fast. So I guess we'll start off with nothing new on race day. What does that mean, Steve?
Yeah, it's a really good thing to keep in mind, especially as you go to the Experience and you get your race shirt or you get New Balance gear. It's all great stuff. But if you have not thought about it, dreamed about it, tasted it, ate it, digested it, dreamed about it, do not do it on race day. A lot of things happen. You don't know what's going to happen to your body with that new shirt, or if your best friend ate that type of food, you don't want to try it because you don't know how it's going to respond to your body. Everyone eats something different before the race, so eat and wear what worked in your training and do not do anything new on race day, Coach Roberto.
Spot on. So stick to what worked and got you here. And then number two, which kind of leads to what Coach Steve was just talking about, is essentially avoid the race before the race. So as Steve said, you pick up your bib, you know which wave and corral you're in, so that corresponds to what time you start, if that's 7:20 in the morning or all the way to 8:45. So once you know when you start, kind of work backwards about 90 minutes or so, and give yourself enough time to come into Prospect Park. If you're checking a bag, Coach Steve already mentioned which subways you could take, but even if you're not, you're still going to have to clear security, and there's still going to be about 20,000 other runners funneling into the park. So make sure you give yourself enough time. It's better to get there with more time to spare than get there at the last minute and even hearing your waves kicking off and feeling stressed. So avoid the race before the race. And then what's the third one?
The last one is do not go out too fast. This is a mistake that almost all first-time runners make, but you will not because you heard this rule. So as you look at the course map, let's pull it up for a second. The elevation of this course, you have the first half of the course, more hills than the latter half. So you have a hill here at mile 1, a hill at mile 2.5, and a hill around mile 5. Now we're going to go over what each of these hills are and how to approach them. But then you look at the latter half, you have a nice flat, and then a little rolling hills at the end. But we want to go out nice and conservative so we have energy for the latter of the course. So take it easy in the early miles so you have energy in the later part of the race.
Yes.
All right. Roberto is still here, guys. So
Sorry, I was having a tech issue.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Are you back?
I'm back. I just had no idea what you were saying because I had to take my earpiece out.
All right. So we're still talking about do not go out too fast. Like I said, do not go out too fast. Nothing new on race day. And
avoid the race before the race.
Before the race. So you get to the start line. You're ready to go. You've checked your bag. If you are with the UPS, you're staying warm also because it can be chilly at the start line. Wear some throwaway clothes. We donate all of our clothes to Goodwill Industry after the race. But once you hear your wave call, you're going to head into the start corrals. And Roberto, the horn is going to go off, and you're starting your first United Airlines NYC Half.
Yeah, so obviously as the screen shows there's health and safety. Have you covered that already?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I just had the earpiece in, so. So yeah, the race starts, and as we said, don't go out too fast. You know, we've all trained really hard and well for the last few weeks and months, and we're really excited and jazzed. But as you can see from the elevation profile, whether you downloaded the app or you'll see over here, and you also had the experience, the bigger climbs, I would say, or more challenging climbs are actually early on in the race, and that's usually where a lot of people are going out really fast. So you want to really make sure that you hold back. Get excited, but you'll be running around a lot of people, and some people tend to try to go out fast. But the race is 13.1 miles long, or 21 kilometers. So that means you have plenty of real estate, plenty of time to make up for maybe feeling a little bit slower in the corrals or early on. And as we like to say, you can't win the race in the first mile. It's not a mile race. It's a 13.1 mile race. But you can certainly either lose it or jeopardize your opportunity to have a good race in that first mile or so. So as you can see there on the map below, you're going to be climbing out of Prospect Park, going up Battle Pass Hill, which if I recall correctly, is 3.4% incline. So it's sizable, and you have that sting in your legs in that first mile. You might not feel it too much even if you go out too fast, just because, again, adrenaline. But then, of course, you'll be going down it, but then you're going up Flatbush and down. So there's a significant amount of climbs in those first early miles. So I would say hold back. You could always make up for going out a little bit slow, but if you go out really, really fast or too quickly, you're going to pay for that eventually, and I would say you probably will feel it as early as Manhattan Bridge. So fortunately, the course is open enough. So again, that first mile in the corral and heading into Battle Pass Hill and Prospect Park, you'll still have plenty of room to move, but you're not you're just trying to keep your lane and let everybody go around you, because there's really two reasons people should be going out faster than you. Number one, they're quicker than you, in which case, obviously let them go. And number two, they're going out too fast, in which case, definitely let them go, because it's a great probability that you'll see them later on.
That's right, guys. So you're going to pass Battle Pass Hill the first time. You actually run Battle Pass Hill twice on this course. As Roberto said, that first time, half mile in, you're going to come up to Grand Army Plaza. You're going to come down Flatbush. And I like this part of the course because you're almost passing runners that are either in front of you or behind you, which is nice. So if you see a friend, you can high-five them. There's a lot of energy. You might see a pace team leader, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You can see where you are in relation to other. But there's a lot of energy here. What I keep in mind is hold that energy back. It's exciting, but I don't want you to get thrown away and start going faster than your maybe goal pace because it's still early in the race. You're going to take it into the second Battle Pass Hill as you come out of that hairpin turn on Flatbush Avenue, and then you'll be coming over to pass through Grand Army Plaza for the first time of the day, heading on to Flatbush Avenue. And now Flatbush is your 5K mark. It is a downhill section of Brooklyn that can get a little fast, Roberto. Very wide street, so you feel a little boxed in early on. This is where it will definitely open up for you. You see here from the photo from 2019. You have all this room right here where you can kind of spread out and finally get a groove of what you're running throughout the race. And Roberto, we also have a pace team out there for those looking to run with them. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. I'll take the little pace stick here. So funny enough, I'm holding it, but my colleague over here, Steve, is actually going to be one of our pacers. So over here, I'm holding. So it says 2:30, so that means I'd be hypothetically running a 2-hour, 30-minute half marathon. And on the other side, it'll have the corresponding per mile pace, so 11:26. So we'll have pacers out there running from an hour and 20 minutes or 80 minutes all the way to 3 hours. And Steve will be doing the 2-hour half marathon pace, 2-hour marathon. Imagine that. Hello, Kipchoge. So yeah, Steve will be doing the 2-hour half marathon pace. And these men and women are fantastic. The program is actually overseen by Steve, so he hand selects these great pacers year in and year out who have run many of our races, half marathons, 10 miles, and obviously the marathon. And they're instructed to, again, in this example, 2:30. So this pacer would hypothetically actually come in at 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 30 seconds because nobody wants to run 2:30.00. They want to try to run underneath it. So, but they're going to be doing that running at even effort or pace. So what that means is when they're going in those early miles up Battle Pass Hill, yeah, they're aware that they have to try to run 11:26 per mile, but they're actually going to run maybe 11:30, 11:40 because they're running uphill. But they also know that that same effort will translate to a quicker pace and it'll even out on the downhill. So suddenly they'll go in 11:30, 11:40 maybe, and then on the downhill is 11:15, 11:10, but the effort is the same rather than trying to run 11:26 every single mile, every single portion of the course, regardless of if it's uphill, downhill, if there's a headwind or not. So you'll be in great hands. And I think we actually have a graphic about where the pacers are located in different corrals. So once you have picked up your bib, you'll see I'm in wave 1, corral 2, or corral A, or something like that, for example. So over there you can see the corresponding, and we'll leave it up for a few seconds. If you're at home, you could take a photo of it. But again, this will be available at the experience as well, at the running lab where myself, Coach Steve, Coach Ben, and the rest of our colleagues will be. So shout out to the pace team. They, year in and year out, they do such a great job. And then Steve pours over the data. And it's amazing how these men and women are trying to run 2:30, for example, and they come in at 2:29:30, 2:29:37, or something like that. It's a commendable job. So again, if you find yourself with a pacer in your corral and the pace corresponds to something you think you want to run, shut your mind off, follow them, and you'll be good to go.
That's right. So we are now passing that 5K mark, and as runners come down Flatbush, they get to what I think is probably the hardest part of the course. It is something we got a few questions about at the experience, people saying, what's the hardest part of the course? What do I need to prepare for? And this is it coming up. It's the Manhattan Bridge, guys. And while locals do run the bridge, it is part you can run year-round, but we run on the lower part where the subway is. So for the half marathon, we're actually running on the top level part where you can't run on a normal day basis because it's where the cars are. But we're going to be running over the Manhattan Bridge on the right side here, heading into Manhattan. And it is also, it might be one of the hardest, but I think it's also one of the most beautiful parts of the course. You have great skies, both sides. It does get sometimes a little windy, so if you're behind a pace team leader, feel free to go behind them so they'll shield you from the wind. Sometimes it can be a little sunny out there, or you might need a light jacket if you haven't tossed it, or some sunglasses to put on there. But keep that in mind as you head over this bridge. You are going to lower your pace going up this hill. It is a big climb. As Roberto said, the pace team leaders will be doing the same thing, lowering that pace, keeping the same effort, but what goes up will come down. It's going to take you across Manhattan Bridge. You're going down it into Chinatown in Manhattan. You're going to then make a few really sharp right-hand turns, and you're going to get to an important part of the course, which is about 6.1. This is where we're going to have our new gel partner along the course. Science and Sports will be there. If you'd like some, you can pick it up, grab one, grab two, whatever you need. Along the course, we'll have water and Gatorade. Either side of the course is going to depend on the tangents of the day of the course, or where more of the runners are running for that part of the course. But you'll see all that throughout the course. And then, like I said, the gels at mile 6.1 in Chinatown. You make a left-hand turn and then head on to FDR Drive, Roberto.
Yeah, and I also love that because, we've said 6.1, and I know there'll be runners out there with their GPS watches like, Coach Steve, this was 6.3 or so. So, I think it's important to know that any of our races, especially like the marathon and the United Airlines NYC Half, we are running through New York City, so your GPS may be bouncing off the walls, off the buildings. But yeah, so as Coach Steve said, we're going to get onto the FDR, but I believe we have a few questions right now, so we want to get to your questions and your shout-outs, and then we'll return back to the course. So
right.
First question.
Let's see. We have a question coming in from Malik. Is there space in the starting area to do a quick half-mile warm-up if we're there early? It's a really good question. You might have some space if you're there nice and early, maybe wave one runner. It does get pretty crowded. There's 25,000 people more starting the race. So it does get crowded, but the park is the Nethermeads of the Prospect Park is very big. So you might find some space in the outer parts. Maybe try to do it also before you get in the crowds and streets in Brooklyn. Might have some space as well.
Yeah, definitely. Jenna, if we have a backpack with our stuff, are we allowed to check that bag? Steve?
I think if you put anything in the clear plastic bag, you can do that. It's not that big a bag, so I'd limit what you're going to put in that clear bag. But as long as it's in that clear bag, I'd tie it really tight so nothing comes out. But UPS should take whatever is in that bag as long as it fits properly.
Spot on.
Peggy says, what is the best time and place to drop off extra layers that you wear to the start, Roberto?
The best time and place, I would say, it's going to be a pretty solid day weather-wise. I'm really looking forward to it. But naturally, it'll be a little bit chilly as you'll most likely be at your corral before the sun comes up. So I would say wear extra layers, wear old clothing, old sweatshirt, sweatpants, things like that you don't mind never seeing again, discarding. And then I would say, maybe wear it even during your warm-up, and then maybe 10, 15 minutes, in my opinion, before the race, you could take it off. And there'll be donation bins there that you could discard it to. People usually throw it outside the corral, and our fantastic volunteers will pick it up and put it in the donation bins, or you could do that yourself. But I would say maybe 15 minutes beforehand. Obviously, we all, pun intended, run differently as far as how cold we are, how warm we are. But if you've done a bit of a warm-up, as the earlier questioner said, half a mile or whatever, you should start to feel a little bit warmed up. But I would say, 15 minutes or so beforehand, and then, just toss it over into the donation bins, which are relatively clearly marked, so you'll know.
Jenna asks if
that was already asked.
We had that question.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions coming in?
I think we might have one more. Alyssa?
Alyssa, is it possible to move up a wave? I'm in wave 4, but plan to run around 2 hours. It's a really good question, and common questions. Runners cannot move up in waves or corrals, but runners can move back waves or corrals. So in your case, you can still run 2 hours in wave 4. We do have pace bands, as this shows, at the Expo experience. So if you want to see what the 2 hour myself would be running, you can use this to keep gauge every mile, kind of checking where that split should be on your own personal watch, but you cannot move up, Alyssa.
All right, I believe we have another question. Lynn, are there any Hammer Nutrition products at the Expo?
Don't believe so. I don't think there's any Hammer
we have Jack Rabbit is there selling
Rabbit
their
food feed.
products,
Stuff,
so you might check there, but no, there aren't any at the Expo as far as I know.
Yeah, and if you are in New York, you can check out some of the local running stores. I know Jack Rabbit has some stores around town as well that might have more products than they can stock at the experience. Next we have Billy. Are they closing the Manhattan Bridge for the race on Sunday morning?
Yes, it would absolutely be carnage if they didn't. 25,000 runners plus New York City motorists who aren't known to be the friendliest. So yeah, the safety first. We'll have the bridge to ourselves, and you should enjoy some fantastic views, especially on a nice clear day, as I believe we're expected to have. Michael,
does the bridge get windy? Yeah, Michael, the bridge does get windy. It's open. There's no buildings blocking it. So I've noticed in the last 2 years, if I remember, probably it's been so long. Yeah, it does get windy. So some people will save maybe a jacket. Like Roberto jacket is a good example. If you like that jacket, you might save it for the.
I'm definitely not tossing this jacket.
You'll save it for the bridge, and also FDR can get a little windy once again. You're just on the water, so you might feel some wind out there.
Yeah, nice crosswind. Stefan, if I'm in Corral C but plan to run over an hour 30 for the half, do I need to catch up to Corral B?
You don't need to catch them. I'm assuming Corral B is where the 130 is. I don't remember off this question. You don't need to sprint. You can run your 130 in any corral. Just you run without the pacers. You can do that as well and use a pace bracelet or use your own training from the past.
Yeah. All right. That was the last question. We have a few shout outs.
All right. Few shout outs. What do we have coming in? All right. Billy says, I will see you at the finish line on Sunday.
All right. Guerreiro. Hi, everyone. Portugal here. Hey, Guerreiro. I think he was watching earlier today, but thank you for watching. Obrigado.
Malik again from Laurel,
Maryland.
Is that MD? Okay.
Yeah.
The MDs confused me.
Yeah, Laurel doctor.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you for watching. All right, so let's return to the course.
Cool.
I believe we were at FDR Drive.
Yeah, so we come off the Manhattan Bridge. You get your Science and sports, gels about 6.1 about, and FDR, as I said before, it is very flat. It's the one part of the course that runners can finally settle in that pace looking for and maybe make up some time if you haven't paced them properly. So as I said before, though, it can be windy, so feel free to get behind a pacer or behind a bunch of people and let them break the wind for you as you go along FDR. This is also one of the parts of the course where it's not really good to cheer from. You have friends and family out there cheering for you. There's not many places all along the FDR to cheer for someone. Same with the Manhattan Bridge. Are two places that you cannot cheer along the course, Roberto.
Yeah, exactly. FDR is a great place to, I kind of liken it a little bit to the Queensboro Bridge in the TCS New York City Marathon, except for this is flatter, but it's a section where you're pretty far away from the start line and pretty far away still from the finish line. So you're in that kind of twilight zone, and you can start to feel the effort of the weight of your effort, but it's also a relatively flat section, as Coach Steve said. So this is where you can really take stock in, like, okay, I'm beyond halfway in the race. How am I feeling? Have I gone out too fast? There's still time to adjust. Do I need to kind of slow down, or should I start to kind of gradually pick it up? Because you're there for about 2 miles or so. There could be a crosswind depending on the day, obviously, but it's still a section where without spectators and just the other runners around you, you could really focus in on your effort and kind of restructure your race strategy if need be. So coming off the FDR, obviously it's a proper motorway, so there'll be an off ramp to deliver you, the runners, into 42nd Street. So that off ramp, as you can kind of see a little bit on the map below, it's a little bit of an incline, not enough to really hammer you, but it will put a little bit of sting in your leg, especially after running on relatively flat terrain. So just be mindful of that, because you'll be turning off FDR, you'll be passing the United Nations building, you'll be making a left-hand turn onto world famous 42nd Avenue, which is filled with so many awesome landmarks.
I like this part of the course. As Roberto said, you come off a flat area, but you're also, 5K from the finish line. You're almost there, and so you're at a place where it's almost could be a 10-mile tempo run and a 5K race, and you're going past Grand Central, as Roberto said, the UN. There's just so many buildings part of this. So if you're not from New York, definitely take in the sights, take in the sounds. New York comes out for this race. This part also can have a headwind. So before we talked about FDR, it could be a crosswind. We're just turning into it. So sometimes I have had in the past this being a headwind. You never know come Sunday, but keep that in mind. So once again, tuck behind someone if you need to. And you come up, you're going to make a right-hand turn on 7th Avenue. And this is the part of the course where I think people sign up every year and they talk about this part of the course, because you run through Times Square. And Times Square is closed only twice a year. The first one is the New Year's Eve ball drop, and the second one is this race that you guys are doing on Sunday. So enjoy this part of the course. Know it's a huge celebration for you, and I would rather be at this race than the New Year's Eve ball drop, Roberto.
25,000 people spread out over 13.1 miles is better than, 100,000 people in one square city block. But yeah, this part is really great because you could really start to feel the energy of the race. Obviously after being on the FDR Drive, you've had zero audience, zero support. But then you get onto 42nd Street, loads of support, loads of runners out there spectating. But then again, on Times Square, what's really neat is that not only are you running there, but then we also have the Times Square Rising New York Roadrunners Kids Race. It's about 1,500 meters or so that they'll be running, and the kids are absolutely amped. They're running 1,500 meters. They're running all out, and they're racing each other. But of course, as you can see in the photo here, they're also kind of racing you or us, the adults. So the adults get a little boost out of there. They cheer on the kids, and the kids, sometimes they're a little cheeky. They dare you to run against them. So, harness that energy, cheer for them. They'll cheer for you, but don't pick up the pace just because they are, because, you still have about 1.5 miles to 2 miles left, depending on where you are, obviously, on Times Square. But again, that 7th Avenue is still a little bit of a gradual incline. So up ahead of you, you'll be able to see Central Park. You won't be running straight into it, because before that, we make a right-hand turn onto Central Park South.
That's right. I like this part of the course because you almost hear the finish line sometimes, but you still have 1 mile left. Roberto said you make a right-hand turn onto Central Park South. You make a left-hand turn at your second Grand Army Plaza of the day, which is mile 12. And you are now, guys, heading into Central Park. And this is the part where we've been training for many, many months or many weeks, how long it's taken to get here. And you are remembering why you signed up for this race. You're raising money for a charity. Someone dared you to run this race. You're going for a PR, whatever it is. You're running your heart out at this last mile because there is just Central Park ahead of you. And while Central Park is hilly, we have removed all the hard hills of the course. So you're not running Cat Hill, you're not running Harlem Hill, you're not running the Three Sisters. You just have the lower loop. The small rolling hills, as you can kind of see at the very end here, nothing that you haven't done before. If you paced it properly and gone out nice and conservative, this part should be pretty easy. You're just keeping the same pace throughout the very end of this course, Roberto, as you make a left-hand turn finally onto the west side of the park into the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. And, truth be told, like less than an hour ago, I just ran that last lower loop of Central Park, which is what Coach Steve was talking about. And it was really great to kind of run it and visualize this. So for those of you who are already in town or coming into town, if you're planning on doing a shakeout run, I definitely recommend running that lower loop because you really get to feel like what the last mile or so of the race is going to be, and you really get to see they're gentle rollers, as Coach Steve said. We're making a left-hand turn on the 72nd Street transfers to run to the west side, and that section right there is relatively flat, and then it dips down. So you could really start to go, as many runners know, we call it the kick, when you're starting to really change gears and move up on your toes a little bit and sprint towards the finish. But you want to save a little bit because similar to like the marathon finish line, which comes into the park from the other direction, this one comes into the finish line from the north to south, but it's also a slight uphill. So obviously finishing a race, whether it's a half marathon or marathon uphill, is a lot of fun for your legs. So you definitely want to save a little bit for that. And what's really cool here is that you're being cheered on by the spectators, other runners passing you or cheering you, you're passing runners, you're cheering. Like, it's that great running community that we so much love. But you're also overhearing the megaphone, the loudspeaker of runners being welcomed by our announcers. So cross the finish line looking happy, raise your arms just like this, and don't look down because we do have professional timing. We obviously want to all get our little Strava and social media, bragging rights, but, just stop your watch. If you have a GPS device, stop it about a second or two past the finish line. That way, when you cross that finish line, you can throw your arms in there and have a fantastic photo as this lady has here.
That's what I want on my Strava, my Instagram, and afterwards. All my arms in the air as I cross the finish line. This is the memory you guys are going to have after the race. And then the race isn't over though. We call this mile 14. After you cross that line is when recovery starts. A lot of runners will plan how to get to the race. They don't plan how to get home, or they don't plan how they're going to meet their family and friends afterwards. That is very important. So keep in mind, you need to plan that out before you get to the race on Sunday. Here's a great map of the finish line. As I said, this is in the pocket guide. It's on the website. So feel free to download it. The blue section here is runners only, so friends and family cannot come in this section. You're going to have, there is family reunion if you'd like, so there's by alphabetized, you can go to, Roberto's my runner, I'm gonna go to R because that's where his first name is, we're gonna meet there. You can also go anywhere else the west side of the city, so if there's a coffee shop you wanna go to, or your hotel, or a subway station, or a street corner, just be specific. Cell phones sometimes don't work at the finish line. Everyone's trying to send, I'm done, or where are you, I can't find you. So sometimes those texts don't go through, phone calls don't go through. So make a plan, back in the day when you didn't have phones, make that plan and stay there until the runner comes there. Use the tracking app as well so that you'll know as a runner, as a spectator, when your runner has finished the race and when you expect them at your meeting place. The other thing is, as you finish, you're going to get a bag from partners at HSS. In that bag is going to be some recovery supply, like water, Gatorade, some apples, some pretzels. Start taking stuff as soon as you can. That's the best time to recover. It'll help you in the long term. So get that in as soon as you can. You're going to get a heat sheet, get your photo taken by Marathon Photo, and then get your bag if you checked it, Roberto.
Yeah, spot on. So congratulations, you've completed the race. Now it's time to celebrate. So, make sure that, as Coach Steve said, recovery starts the second you cross that finish line. We call that the 14th mile. So anyway, I believe we have some questions. Yep, I believe we have some questions.
I can't hear anymore. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm hearing it. So
some questions.
Yeah,
all right.
we have some questions. So let's hear from you out there.
What amenities are provided at the start area? Any kind of food, snacks, water, bottle refill station, Roberto?
Yeah, there aren't any. I don't think there are any water bottle refilling stations or anything like that. So we definitely encourage you to bring your own food, snacks, anything that might help you. Obviously, a lot of us might have breakfast before we get there, but if you're planning on arriving super early and you know what works best for you, as far as I like to eat an hour before my race or I don't, bring that there. But the amenities actually are going to really be more on the course. And as Coach Steve said, I believe we have about 7, 8 stations. So hydration, nutrition, things like that, and aid stations, medical aid stations as well.
That's right. Next, we have a question. how many stations with gel? What brand? It'll be Science and Sports brand, SAS, also known as. One station along the course, a mile about right at the Manhattan Bridge, I think 6.1 and 6.2 along the course. So you'll have those as well on the course. So you can also bring your own, so you have a different brand like you do as well. Luke, Roberto, can I change my wave?
I would say most likely not, but depending on when you get to town, if you have, depending on why you need to change it, let's say it was actually an error on the back end or something like that, I would definitely go speak to runner services at the experience. So obviously without knowing all the backstory, I don't want to say 100% yes or 100% no, but depending on the reason, I would go check at runner services at the experience.
Courtney asks, is the Manhattan Bridge as terrible to run as a Williamsburg Bridge? I haven't done the Williamsburg Bridge in a while. I got out of New York a while ago. Manhattan Bridge is a challenge, though. I think they're pretty similar in elevation gain. If you've been training on the Williamsburg Bridge, you will be fine on Manhattan Bridge. I don't think they're exactly the same, but you'll be fine, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would say they're comparable.
Yeah.
I've run both. I know Manhattan Bridge because obviously it's part of the race. Raises about 150 feet above sea level, which is actually the highest point of the course. But it's not the steepest climb. The steepest climb is actually early on in Battle Pass Hill as far as steepness and grade. But yeah, again, if you run the Williamsburg Bridge or really any hills in Prospect Park or Central Park, you should be all set. Just pace yourself because that comes around 5 or so miles into the race where if you've gone out too quickly and not paced yourself well, you could definitely pay for it.
Jenna says, do you recommend grabbing gels and water every few miles? What do you do in your training? Do you drink water every few miles? Do you have gels every few miles? Some people yes, some people no. So look back at your training and see what worked best for you. Most people will do, a few sips of water. Gels usually by time every, 20 to 40 minutes, depends on the person. So look back at your training logs and do what worked in your long runs.
Yeah.
Roberto tosses to you. We have, will pacers run even splits or pace based on the course?
Wow, that's such a nice one, especially coming from you. Yeah, as we said earlier, our pacers, which Steve is actually one of them, they're going to run even effort or pace. So even effort means they're going to run, I had earlier, well, I still have it. Hypothetically, I'm a 2:30 finisher or pacer, and I'm supposed to be running 11:26 per mile, but kicking off the race, going up Battle Pass Hill, I'm going to run that effort. So that's recognizing that my first mile might be 11:30, 11:34, but then going up into Flatbush, up Flatbush, down Flatbush, I'm going to run the same effort. So that means at some point it'll be 11:30s, 11:40s even maybe, but then it'll drip down to 11:10. So it'll even out. Same thing with when they're running down Flatbush, the pace will be a little bit quicker, but the effort will be the same. And then with that same effort going up Manhattan Bridge, again, the pace will drop down, but then on the backside of Manhattan Bridge, the pace will go down there. So the first time they might actually start to hit consistent even splits, which will still be the effort, but even splits as far as looking at your watch will probably be somewhere zigzagging around Chinatown. That's relatively flat, and then of course on the FDR where there's a 2+ mile stretch of relatively flat running. So if the terrain is flat, they'll hit those splits. If the terrain if it's going uphill, it'll be on effort, and then downhill, same thing. That effort will translate to a quicker pace. Did I nail that, Coach
You nailed
Steve?
it. I liked it. I gave that to you for a reason. Let's see.
I'm trying to do you justice. You're Mr. Pacer.
What's next? I'll take the next one. We got Susan says, do you recommend wearing an old pair of shoes to Prospect Park if it's muddy and changing into race shoes? First, I think it's a great idea. I think it's still supposed to rain Saturday, so it might be muddy before the race. So if you have the opportunity to do that, knowing you're not going to get those shoes back, I think it's a really good idea. If you don't and you still want to keep your shoes clean and dry, you could also just wrap them in a plastic bag as well and take that bag off once you get to the concrete start line as well.
Yeah, it's a good look.
Yeah, I love it.
That's a good look.
Next we have Abby says, can you exit into Central Park after the race, or would you recommend exiting west towards Family Reunion? I think I'll go west to Family Reunion, assuming you're meeting people. If you need to go east for some reason, you can cross under 7th Avenue subway line there. There's like the yellow NRQ-ish line right on 7th and 56th, I think it is. So you can go under the race there. That's how usually you get home. So if you have to go, say that, or you can go north as well into the next transverse over as well.
Yeah.
Roberto, I'll toss the next one to you. Sydney says, are spectators allowed at the finish line?
No.
Like, no.
I mean, No, the finish line part of that area, as Coach Steve says, the frozen zone. So it's really just for the runners finishing, our volunteers who will be there, for hours cheering in the runners, walking them in, handing them their awesome medals, which we've got to see. Those are really great to look at, as well as, your finisher back from a hospital for special surgery. But it could be super crowded if you could imagine, obviously you might have the best of intentions, but you're one person and that other person. And we have loads of finishers, and they'll be coming in literal waves of human waves of people from 9 in the morning, maybe around the first wave or so, plus the elites, all the way till close to noon. So yeah, spectators are not allowed there.
Michael, where in the course do you recommend to quicken the pace? Yeah, we kind of talked about this earlier, Michael. So it depends on your goals, but hopefully you'll pace at more of a negative split. The first few miles a little more challenging than the latter part. So I always, at the experience, I've been telling people, once you get to the Crest Manhattan Bridge, about mile 5-ish, 6-ish, see how you feel at that point. If you're feeling great, it's kind of into the next gear. Not a full race sprint yet, but you kind of think that next gear is you go down Manhattan Bridge into Chinatown along the FDR. And then once you get, once again, into mile 10, 42nd Street, approaching Times Square is when you kind of do your next gear, because you have 5K left at that point, and then Central Park is that final gear. So think of it in different stages along the course, where depending on how you're feeling, you're going to adjust properly at those key points. I have Jill. Can you quickly review the water station location, please? I will do one better for you. Not just explain it to you, I'll show it to you, Jill. AJ, can we bring it back up on the course here map? We're going to pull it up here, and then I'll circle them. We have, so start, there will be water along at the start Village View. But along the course, we have right before mile 3, we have around mile 4, we have around mile 6, that's about 8-ish, 10, I'll say 11, and right along 12, and then there'll be water in your flow water in your recovery bag as well. So about 7 stations, I think you counted, Roberto, earlier, for runners to have either water and there'll be Gatorade along the course, either one side of the street along the course.
Yep.
Toss one to you. How big are the plastic bags allowed for bag check, Roberto? Do you have like a size?
Am I on camera? They're about yay big. Oh, there we go. Now I can see. Yeah, if you haven't been to the experience, once you pick up your bag, your bib, and you get your race shirt, you'll see the bag is, literally about yay big to scale. So it's big enough that you could fit in an extra pair of shoes for after the race if you want to change shoes. Certainly, I definitely recommend, if you are checking a bag, to put in a long sleeve or even shirt or windbreaker, something dry, because when you finish the race, even though it'll be a relatively nice day, you will have been sweating and you won't feel cold right away, because obviously adrenaline and you've been running hard, but it doesn't take that long to start feeling a little bit cold, and you don't want to be chilled out. So I would say that bag will comfortably fit change of clothing. Obviously, you don't have to fold it too hard. Like, you could put it in there, change your shoes, and anything else that you think you may need. But yeah, the bag is big enough. It's not like TSA overhead compartment bag, but it's solid.
But you also can't pack your life in it.
Yeah. Like, you're not running away from home. You're just having things meet you at the end of the race.
You're running away from the start line.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. I love this. Do we have Jenna? Where is the best place for our families to watch us on the course? It's a really good question. AJ, is there a chance we can bring the course map back up? I just want to show the places you can't cheer, because it's important. Some people do ask. So the places you cannot cheer, Manhattan Bridge is a no zone on the race day. And also, I like to say FDR. There are like pockets in the FDR you can, but it's just really hard to get to, and you also only see them for a split second. So those are the 2 places that you really can't. And also start and finish, as Roberto said. You cannot see someone start the race, and you cannot see someone actually finish the race. Are the 2 areas. Anywhere else is fair game. It depends on, does your family and friends cheering if you like music around you, because there's a lot of good music sections, a lot of good cheer zones, like TFK is cheering right before Times Square, which is a lot of fun. Times Square is a blast. It's also kind of loud, but if you want somewhere quiet, if they can make it in Brooklyn, Flatbush is really cool, because it's a lot of place to cheer. Runners are going by you pretty fast, because it's downhill right there, and you can get high-fiving people. It's not too crowded. It's pretty busy also around mile 10, and of course Central Park around mile 12. A lot of excitement there. So it's really, what are you looking for? Are these family cheering? A lot of energy, or just to see you? And if they know New York City a lot, they can take the Q to like Brooklyn and then into Manhattan as well to see you more than once.
Yeah, and what I would say additionally is, if you download the app, as we said, you can put in your friend or family's name, first and last name, or just their bib number, and it'll auto-populate it. You can track as many runners as you want. I believe Coach Ben said this morning he's tracking somewhere in the hundreds. I somewhat believe it. But that'll also help because if you are watching or tracking your family, you watch them early on in Flatbush, as Coach Steve said, that's a great location around 3 miles or 5K in. Then you could kind of hop on the subway or however other means of transportation you have and head over to Manhattan and try to beat them there onto 42nd Street or thereabouts. But as you're tracking them, you'll be like, okay, like at the pace they're going, they probably should be getting to mile 8 at X time or at mile 10 Times Square at X time. So that also kind of give you an idea of how to pace your own cheering. Because oftentimes, and I have friends coming in from out of town, it's almost a double race. There's the race that I'm running, and then the race that my friends or family are running just to kind of catch me in as many locations as possible, which just kind of makes it fun for them, especially during the marathon.
And just to clarify, the app, just look for NYC Half in the App Store. That comes up. It's not the NYRR app. It's the United Airlines NYC Half app. You can type that into your Google or your iPhone search App Store, and you can find that as well.
Yeah.
All right, don't know what was that. Where is the best place? We've seen that question already. Let's go next one. There's some other shout out coming up. Let's see. Shout out. Oh, question. Nina, do you suggest running with or without music? It's a really good question. I think it's personal preference. You want to enjoy the course as far as the ambience of sound. It's powerful, especially going to Times Square, and also the quietness. I think of FDR is also powerful. Maybe we'll take one out and use that, or turn it enough down that you can hear runners around you for safety reasons. I wouldn't run with music just because I like hearing runners around me. I like the sound of the environment of the course. It's really powerful in terms of audio. But if you really enjoy music, try to take one out, and so you have safety, hear people around you.
Yeah. Pepita. That's my aunt's name. I love it.
Oh, nice.
It's not her, though.
Are you sure?
Yeah, she doesn't speak English. So, are there any benefits to pacing slower for the first miles, then faster in the second 5 to prepare for the hills in the last 3.1? I love this. I'm going to kick it to you, Steve, because it's a sort of pacing question, but wonderful question.
Yeah, it's kind of how pacers are doing it. We're going negative. That's negative splitting right there. You're going slower in the first 5, which is I'm doing 2-hour pacers. I'll be doing taking the first 5 nice and conservative, keeping everyone in that group together is the goal. While holding time, obviously not going to walk for people, but keeping everyone together as much as possible. We're going to pick it up once we get down, going down Manhattan Bridge, because we can use that free speed into Chinatown. And then really once we get into like Times Square, I'm going to let runners know if you're feeling really good, now's the time to leave me. And then the last call, once we get into Central Park, I want everyone to go ahead of me for the last mile as soon as possible. So I finish by myself, but everyone else gets sub 2 is the goal for my pace group. Similar, I think all pacers will be doing very similar things. So if you're not running pacer, I think that's a great plan. Just make sure the hardest part about that strategy by yourself is holding back the first 5 miles. It probably will feel pedestrian, and you're going to say like you think you should be racing. So it should feel very easy those first 5. You do not want to feel like you're huffing and puffing. You should still be able to have a conversation with someone or sing a song by yourself.
Sing a song by yourself.
Sing a song by yourself. Wheel on the bus. That's what I sing all the time by myself. I got a 5-year-old. Rachel says, are there porta potties along the course, Roberto?
Yes, they are. They tend to be usually somewhere near the aid stations, and the aid station means where you could pick up hydration and nutrition. So sometimes they'll be literally a few hundred feet before the tables that have water, or sometimes they'll be after. But yeah, look for them around the aid stations. You know what a porta potty looks like, so it should stand out.
Yes, you do. Yeah. All right. Next question we have. We have shout outs. All right, I can hear people now.
Studio.
Cool. All right, I like the studio. We have Messiah. How do you pronounce that one?
Mesa. I was a volunteer today, and I took a picture with you guys.
Awesome. I love it.
That is a shout out.
Yeah.
And it is true. We had a few people take photos. So
thank you for volunteering today. Also, the race experience couldn't happen without volunteers like you, and the race itself couldn't happen without volunteers. So thank you guys.
And it's always great to meet the runners, because obviously, during pandemic times, we're doing this virtually, and we're so used to in the past doing it in person at the experience, at the expos, and things like that. It's really great to then come off the stage and interact with your runners. So the way we're doing this now is obviously getting shout outs and communicating via Facebook and things like that. But then when we go to the experience for our respective shifts, it's great to have you all come up to us. We're obviously wearing face masks, but it's amazing that you still recognize us. So yeah,
it's the hair.
Yeah,
like obviously.
We stay. Somebody did say it's like it's the hair.
Yeah, it's like the no hair versus great hair. It's
yeah. So
we'll switch hair one day.
Gray hair?
Great.
Oh, great. I was like, is this gray? Is the lighting got that? All right, Edgar. Hey, that's our buddy from Harlem.
Oh, hey, Harlem United runs. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. We love Edgar.
Edgar, I hope you come to the experience. If you're running this race, come by and say hi.
Yeah. Great local runner.
Yeah. Cool. I think that is it. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching today's show. If you missed the show or missed the beginning of it, we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. for our next course strategy chat. But until then, good luck, and we'll see you at the experience for the United Airlines NYC Half.
Yeah, thank you, and shout out to Sam and AJ in the background.